girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns to historic Cruise Stadium. Slipknot, Disturbed, Pantera, the original Misfits, Evanescence, Limp Bizkit, Judas Priest, Stain, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Falling in Reverse, Sleep Token, Rise Against, 311, Seether, Mudvayne, and many more. May 16th through the 19th, Columbus, Ohio. Tickets on sale now at SonicTempleFestival.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And real quick housekeeping note, if you are watching us on YouTube or Rumble or BitChute or Odyssey, please hit that follow and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever podcast platform you're utilizing, please hit that follow and subscribe button as well so we can continue to bring you conversations like the one I'm bringing you right now. We are catching up with Mr. Ryan McCombs of the band Soil and Drowning Pool. Currently on the road with Drowning Pool. What's going on, Ryan?
I'm trying to find a quiet place for you. I'm doing all right, man.
You wanted me to call you Slab Shalowitz or whatever, right?
Yeah, Slab Shalowitz. It caught me off guard. I was like, what enter a name? I was like, well, Slab Shalowitz, hell. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Like you were just telling me before we went on, first day, the tour, and things are a little crazy right now, huh?
It is. It's first day, and it happens to be in a venue. Musicians watching this are going to be familiar how you run into a venue every once in a while that has like a sound ordinance, and so they can't make noise until 5 o'clock here. So it really just kind of screws up your day on a normal tour. So to start a tour out at a place like this where you can't make noise until 5 o'clock, it just puts a wrench in things right off the bat.
Yeah, no sound check until 5, huh?
Yeah, and it's only like a 10 or 11 day little run here. We're doing Drowning Pool, Saliva, and Any Given Sin. So Saliva and Drowning Pool, we're doing the no TM. Just, there's no reason to bring out a full crew and stuff when you're only shooting it for 10 days or so. So somehow along the lines, though, I've ended up kind of falling into coordinate and handle a lot of the TM crap. So my head is particularly spinning, especially spinning, I should say. So trying to think of what I need to do next.
Well, yeah, busy guy, man. As we were talking about before we went on too, it's like you haven't even been home from tour. You just kind of wrapped the thing with Soil and Union Underground, and already back at it. So you're kind of in TM mode anyway, kind of, right?
Yeah, we literally the weirdest thing. I'm in Joliet, Illinois right now at the Forge, which is a great venue. But this was the last show of that tour, so I was literally just here like 2 weeks ago. So like after this show, I walked off stage, went to the bus, grabbed my bag, walked to the hotel, and had to get an early Uber to the airport the next morning to fly down to Dallas to start pre-production with Drowning Pool on the new music we've been writing. And then it was straight from pre-production. We actually left we left the place that we're doing pre-production, walked out the door, jumped in the cars, headed to rehearsal spot to grab the gear, and jump on the road for here. So it's just been from one tour to pre-production to this tour. It's just been, I can't wait to see my wife.
I bet, man. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right?
I hope so. I hope so. She'll keep me around a little bit longer.
Well, you've been road warrioring it, man. But usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick background and want to ask, do you remember originally what did you want to be when you grew up?
Man, probably if you were to ask, you know, if you were able to ask my parents, they would probably have told you a musician of some sort. Because according to them, from, you know, I was always air drumming or air guitaring or one of those two things from the time, you know, since I was in a diaper, you know, and no, that wasn't when I was 25, but it was from their earliest memories of me, I was always air drumming or air guitaring something, because I grew up in a great, you know, my parents were awesome, and then though my mom was a teacher, my dad was like one of the head supervisors at the glass factory that employed all the counties around us. They were known as Mike and Susie McCombs. They were well thought of in the community. But at nighttime, when the evening rolled around, the front door closed, it became very evident that my dad had well hidden speakers around the living room, because suddenly the AC/DC or the Aerosmith or Creedence Clearwater or Pink Floyd or whatever would come on. And so I grew up around music, and you know, they said from their earliest memories, I was always air guitar and air drum or something.
Nice.
Now to me, I remember being in school with thoughts of being an architect or a mechanical drafting. You know, I actually went to college for mechanical drafting and design. Technology was the degree, actually, but no, music was always in my blood.
And then you'd mentioned some of the music that your dad had was playing around the house, but who were some of your early influences when you knew that like this was something you wanted to pursue?
There's such a variety around the house. I'll tell you, my brother was 5 years older than me, and he was always in bands and stuff, and in the local area scene, and which was small town Indiana, wasn't really a scene, but and of course he was into your hair band days. It's because I'm older than dirt, so he was into the hair band era and everything, and so between my brother and my dad, there was everything being played in the house. You know, there was Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and friggin' Pretty Boy Floyd, and you know, just all of it. And then there was my dad with the AC/DC and the Aerosmith, the Pink Floyd, the Creedence. To this day, Creedence Clearwater is probably my favorite band. But as far as bands, to answer your question, as far as bands that I myself that were like those first, that's mine, you know, it was probably Metallica and Alice in Chains.
Oh, nice. And then as you started getting older, like when did you you know, I mean, obviously you start trading, you know, follow your own group of friends that are into like-minded music and stuff like that, but when did you start like kind of you know, putting together you know, when did singing become like your thing? Oh,
I never wanted to be a singer. Still don't. I honestly didn't, though. One of my earliest moments of making a mistake and sticking a pinky toe in that water was we were trying out singers. One of the bands I was in back in the day, you know, and I'm talking about like high school days, like like, you know, teenager, and one of the bands I was in was trying to find a singer, because back where I grew up, you know, there wasn't very many drummers. There were a ton of guitar players, and I played bass at the time because I failed miserably at drums and the guitar, so I ended up playing bass. And I loved bass because you could just kind of hang out in the background. You didn't have to be in the forefront. And we were trying out singers, and we had this original song we'd written. And after like the third weekend of trying out singers, after the guy left, we were sitting in one of the rooms, and I stuck the cassette in with the song that we had written, and I was like, "This is what I'm hearing." And I played it and I sang along with it. And after it was stopped, like everybody was quiet. And I was like, man, did it suck that bad? And everybody's like, why the hell are we looking for a singer? We can find another bass player. You should be singing. And I was like, not a chance in hell. And then like years later, I went away to college. And after my first year of college, I was like, I need to get back into music again. That was the only time in my young life that I wasn't in a band, was during my first year of college. After the first year, I was like, I need to get back in it. So I got a hold of the guys I grew up playing with, and they were like, oh yeah, well, absolutely, you can get back in, but we've already got a bass player, so you'll have to sing. I was like, shit, they got me. And so I started singing for them, and just never got out of it. Was never able to escape that pair of shoes.
So yeah, so like literally, I just posted on the Today's Boondoggle Instagram page a snippet from my interview with Tim from Soil, and he was talking about how he was able to reach out to you to get you into Soil. Maybe you can corroborate his story. Back then, he had to send you a letter.
Yeah, snail mail.
Yeah, snail mail. So tell me that story, how that came together for you.
He probably told you the whole story of how he came across me and everything, but he wrote the address that was associated with the band that I was in at the time, but the address was the guitar player's home address. And so he received the letter, but he didn't tell me about it until like weeks after he received it. Because frankly, he was like, these guys are going to poach him. these guys are looking to poach my singing. I'm not interested in helping that out at all. So he didn't actually tell me about it until a couple of weeks after the fact that he'd received it. And then by the time I received the letter, Tim and Adam and Sean, Tim and Adam was on tour over in Europe with the band with the death metal band they were in at the time, a band called Oppressor. And so they were over there doing that. So we ended up kind of missing each other for a bit. And finally, when they got back from Europe, they got my messages and we connected. And they thought I was like an hour away because I was in Indiana. I think they just thought all of Indiana was an hour away. But I was on the other side of Indiana. So it was like a 4-hour commute to Chicago. So there, once I started jamming with those guys, life got really crazy because I'd rehearse I'd had my 40-hour a week job. And then after work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I would rehearse with one band I was in back home in Indiana. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'd jam with another, like one band was like a stoner rock band. One band was like a heavier band. So I'd practice with one on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and one on Tuesdays and Thursdays after work. And then after jamming on Friday, then I'd jump in my truck and I would drive 4 to 5 hours up to Chicago and spend the weekend rehearsing with those guys, and then drive home Sunday night and start all over again. But yeah, he found me. He found me while I was singing for 2 different bands in Indiana. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you talk about putting in the work, but what did your guitar player ever did he just start feeling like guilty or something and finally?
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why he finally did it, but he did, and thankfully he did, because we used to joke that I come from a town in Indiana. I mean, it's the closest city is like Muncie, Indiana, the home of Ball State University, but is Muncie, Indiana. There's Fort Wayne was a little over an hour north, and Indianapolis was an hour and a half, 2 hours south. So where there was no scene, there was no such thing as a music scene where I grew up. So we would laugh at the only way to make it out of Indiana is if like David Geffen's airplane crashed on Main Street or something, and he survived. happen. You happen to be like rehearsing at the moment or something. So in a way you're going to get recognized from the scene. We joked about it at the time. I don't want to discourage anybody back there. So luckily he did tell me, because it led to me getting in with the Soil guys and being a part of that Chicago scene when that Chicago scene, I mean, that was a beautiful scene to be a part of. I mean, it was because of that scene that Herb and Soil and 5.0 from Zero, there were so many bands that came out of that scene. So many that's not with us anymore, but there was literally like 6-7 bands that all got signed right there at the same time, because it was such an amazing scene. People ask about things about like how did you make it and stuff, and dude, we made it because of that scene. I mean, the bands work together. Yeah, I get so pissed off when I hear you're playing like a random show, more so 10-15 years ago, but as a signed band you'd be playing a show and there'd be a couple unsigned bands on the bill or something like that, and you'd hear them speaking some jealousy bullshit about the other band's gear or something like that, and you're just like, man, y'all just need to work together. And that's what the Chicago scene was like, is that scene was so cool because Disturbed and Soil and all of us, we all worked together. Rebels Without Applause and stuff, we all worked together. If we were on a bill and there was an opening, we called Dan, what are you guys doing? Can you get to Milwaukee? We all worked together to make the scene awesome. And the fans, I think the fans recognized just the camaraderie that we all had. And the fans were were even more so of it, because they supported all of us. But it was just such a great, healthy scene to be a part of. But I don't know how I veered left on this thing, but I apologize for taking over the situation. I'll shut up now.
No, it's good, man, because that's one of my questions. But like you're saying, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, so I mean, that's how our scene used to be like back in the day too. A lot of bands helping each other out, putting shows together. But nice! Look at that.
That's what I'm talking about. Browns. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I mean, so we got that going as well. But yeah, dude. So like the Cleveland music scene used to be the same way. It's like everybody was kind of helping each other out, pulling each other up, and then it's the only way. It was, to get recognized out there. To build something. And I mean, we got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it's like we don't really have much of a local scene anymore, and it's kind of sad, But so during that time,
when hearing that, it's because it really is.
Yeah. So during that time in Chicago, I mean, you guys, I believe, I mean, like Mushroomhead was kind of like running parallel a little bit with you guys, because they had,
right,
I think, did some tours with you guys back in the day, and then like you guys, Halo blows up, gets big, gets you guys, signed, and then you drop the album on September 11th. And Tim, shared that story, and I remember that's like almost like I think the day like Mushroomhead signed with Universal. So it wasn't a good day for America, obviously, but not a good day for music.
Much more important things went wrong that day, but as far as in a completely selfish sense, it was a horrible time for an album. I don't think in my lifetime there was not a singular day that would have been worse to have released a record on that day. Like I said, in the grand scheme of things, and not even the big picture, in the normal picture, who gives a shit about Soil's release on that day? But at the same time, on a selfish note, that was an absolute that was an absolute bullet to the heart. Yeah.
But I mean, despite having to overcome, just like America, we all, kind of came together and overcame. The band that would end up, going on, and still that album, ended up doing pretty well, and especially overseas, from what I understand.
Yeah, overseas was always, because they embraced us from day one. There was never because 9/11 didn't affect them, of course, as the way it did here. I mean, people here people were scared to leave their house, let alone go out and buy a new CD or something. Whereas it didn't affect them over there. So I think we sold out our first show ever in London, and we flew over there for one show. We sold that thing out, and it was that way especially in the UK, all of the UK, Ireland, Scotland, England. It's been that has been our adopted home in a way from day one, because they love the soil, and from the word go, and several countries in Europe are that way as well. But yeah, it's I feel like I feel like I've been off track again, but yeah, but no. Real quick before I move any further, though, I was actually just talking to Skinny Mushroomhead a couple weeks ago. So I'm glad you brought them up, man, because it's so good that they're still. Not a lot of us are still going from those days. So I love the fact that they are, because they've always brought it. So I love the fact that you mentioned them, because I just speaking with them again, and I love the fact that they're still flying the flag. It's awesome.
Yeah, were you? Did you connect with them when you were in Cleveland with Soil on that?
No, we were actually discussing possibly going over to the UK, Drowning Pool, but I think that's been put on hold for a while. At least the conversation's been put on hold. But that's what we were discussing, actually, was the idea of Drowning Pool and Mushroomhead doing a UK run.
Okay, cool. Well, going with that, I remember hearing from, I've been friends with those guys for a number of years. Like me and Skinny and Jeffrey Nothing had kids around the same age,
cool.
So we go to each other's kids' birthday parties and stuff like that, growing up together in the scene. So, but I remember, hearing about Ozzfest, man, and they were running with the Drowning Pool guys out there on Ozzfest. They had a good friendship with those guys. And I guess, we're pretty close with the previous vocalist who we lost, Dave Williams, during that time, which was tragic. But how did you go from Soil to stepping into that role?
I mentioned Dave and the OG, and he was. I considered him my best friend in the business at the time, because we just really hit it off as far as vocal, two vocalists. And the first time we ever met was actually in Holland at the Ozzfest in Holland, and we were recording we were recording with me and Drowning Pool. We were recording the Full Circle album, and Stevie or CJ, one or the other, had found a box of Dave's photographs in the storage unit, and he brought it by the studio where we were recording, and we were all going through these pictures, and they were reminiscing and telling stories, and all of a sudden I found this picture, and it was of me and Dave, and it was from the first time we met in Holland, and I started telling the story, and I was like, dude, I walked off the bus, and I hear somebody yelling my name, and I turn around, and there's Dave running at me. And in my head, I'm thinking, that's Dave Williams from Drowning Pool. He's yelling my name for some reason. And it ended up being that he was a big fan, and he came running up, and the story goes, I said, he came running up, and he turned around to the tech that he was with and was like, dude, go back to the bus and get my camera. I want to get a picture. And so the dude went back and got a camera, and we took this picture. And Mike's sitting there, and Mike looks at me and goes, I was the fucking tech, you asshole. So it was Mike, our drummer Mike, that he sent back. I didn't know Mike at the time, but they sent back and got the camera and take a picture. But Dave and I just hit it off from day one, from the first moment we met. And when we did Ozzfest 2002 together, he was always coming up and doing Halo with us. And he was always on my ass to come up and do bodies, and I never would make fun of him because he'd be like, I see you on the side of the stage, and as soon as I get ready to announce you, I just see like a streak of blonde hair running away from the stage. And I always felt weird. I always felt weird about getting on stage with other bands because I feel like that's their time. That's their time with the people that give them the ability to do that. That's their personal time with their fans and everything. And I don't feel right stepping into that situation. But he'd make fun of me, and finally I agreed to come up and do bodies with him in Indianapolis, where my family was going to be there since I'm from Indiana. And of course we did bodies that night, and then he passed away on the way to the next show. But it was to answer, sorry, memory lane there, but going back to I walked away from Soil in 2004, and I was done with music. I was burnt out. I was a small town kid, and the industry itself is so disgusting that the people and the cutthroat, fake people that you'd have to deal with on a daily, that I just I couldn't take it, and so I walked away from music, and I was out of music for about 9 months, and I passed up a lot of writing opportunities. Different labels got a hold of me to want me to write with some of their baby bands and crap, and I was so burnt out. I didn't want anything to do with it. I started doing a factory job and started helping. I got involved with this extreme sports park and everything, that they were going to do a venue, and so I helped them put that together. So just started doing stuff like that, and finally the Drowning Pool guys, they called me one day while I was at work. It was like, you think a singer can learn, they said, do you think a singer can learn 18 songs in one day? I was like, well, I'm sure there's singers out there that could do it, but if you're talking about me, hell no. Because they were getting ready to leave for a tour, and they were wanting to part ways with their singer at the time, Jason Jones. So they were basically, can you learn 18 songs in one day? And I was like, no. So then after that tour was over, then we got together, and I've always said, and it's the truth, that I don't think, I know they're the only group of guys that could have ever got me back into music again. I was so burnt out on it, and so disheartened by the business side of it, that they are the only group of guys. Because through my friendship with Dave, I got to be friends with all of them, of course, and they just quickly became my favorite guys to run into out on the road, to do shows with, to see during festivals and stuff. We used to always have a laugh and a good time together. So they really are the only group of guys that could have ever gotten me out of music, or got me back into music. And so about 9 months after quitting Soil, I joined up with Drowning Pool, and we got together and jammed a little bit, and then I was back in Indiana. We got together in Texas and jammed a little bit. And I'd just gotten back to Indiana when Dave's mom called me, and Dave Williams' mom, Joe, called me and was like, "Where are you at?" I was like, I'm in Indiana. She goes, yeah? I said, yeah. She goes, well, funny thing. She goes, one of Dave's old friends is in a band that rehearses right underneath Drowning Pool, right underneath the boys. And she goes, and he swears that they were practicing this past weekend with a singer that sounded just like Ryan McCombs from Soil. She goes, we would have happened to have been in Texas time recently, have you? And I was like, and she just stopped. She goes, I just want you to know. She goes, if anybody was going to take Dave's place, he would have wanted to be you. And so at that point, when his mom spoke those words to me, it was like, yeah, because I was still having trepidation at the time, feeling weird into that, because that. You're stepping into a situation where I was singing my friends' songs and stuff. I just as much as I wanted to be around the guys, yeah, I was still having that hang up. But when his mom called me and said that, it was like a no-brainer. Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, and I mean, hearing what you brought to the table, I mean, it's definitely it sounds like the best transition for what Drowning Pool was with Sinner and everything. You know, it's just like, I mean, you definitely got the pipes for it. You sound like the guy. I was at the gym earlier today, just kind of getting ready for this, listening through some of the older songs and stuff, and the transition on the albums that you've been on and his, you know, it's just like it's flawless, you know. So you're definitely, you know, I
appreciate that. Sinner is such a classic album. I really
Sorry, you cut out there.
That means a lot because, like I said, oh no, I really appreciate that. That means a lot because, you know, Dave's that album's always, I mean, that's an iconic album, and you know, because of that album, we're all still sitting here today. So that's big words. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then, you know, real quick, one more time with the Mushroomhead guys. I remember, you know, I heard nothing but good things about Dave. I guess, you know, Jack and a couple of the other guys who were in the band at Mushroomhead at the time said they were out to dinner with Dave that night, you know, and then the next morning they got the news.
Right.
But you got to move to another room now.
Yeah. Everybody's like kind of peeking their head in here at me, wondering when I'm going to get things done.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I'll be cognizant of your time. I just got a couple more questions if you're
absolutely cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we touched on Sinner and what an amazing album that was to start it off. Bodies being such an iconic song. I know it was definitely huge. For my time in the military, seemed to go over well with that crowd. But then Sinner, you know, just the title track alone, I was listening to that earlier today, and it's just always been one of my favorites. But what would you, stepping in and being able to kind of make those your own, and then going forward with Drowning Pool, what's that transition been like? Kind of, you know, taking that energy and then putting your own spin on it.
It was good back in the day. It was good because it was an easy transition to make. I think the Drowning Pool fan base and the people that followed, you know, that were supportive of the material that I'd done previously. They understood the connection between Dave and I, and between the band and I. So I think they, from day one back in 2005, there was a definite embrace from the Drowning Pool community. I think they definitely understood that connection, and I think they were happy to have somebody in the fold that had such ties to the original lineup. And then being back now, it's been a very warm welcome once again. Jason Moreno is a hell of a singer and just has an amazing instrument vocally. So I got nothing but respect for that guy as a person and as a musician. But I think so. I don't mean anything negative by it. The embrace of this lineup getting back together has been a great embrace. The embrace has been amazing, and the response has been amazing. And it's, I think people, for a large part, I think people are excited to have this lineup back together again. I think they're happy to see the lineup that it was these four minds that produced 37 Stitches and Turn So Cold and Feel Like I Do, and which were very successful songs for Drowning Pool. And so I think looking at those albums that we did back then, the Full Circle and the self-titled Drowning Pool record, and then all of a sudden, since getting back together, we're just writing like crazy. It's kind of sparked. It's breathed new. It's a breath of fresh air for everybody. Breath of new life for everybody. And we're really on fire right now. We're in that honeymoon phase. So we're writing like crazy. And like I said, we were just in pre-production recording some of the stuff that we've written since I've been back, and we'll be getting new material out to people's ear holes ASAP. And we're just enjoying it. We're enjoying laughing and having a good time doing what we love to do again. But the embrace has been great.
Yeah, and I mean, it definitely helps when you have that friendship and that relationship too. It's not like if you're doing what you love with the people you love, it's not work. So they say, So, but lost your video here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
But
there we go.
All right, cool. But yeah, so the tour. I mean, you touched on it at the beginning, but I mean that's why the interview came together. I don't want to get in trouble with Shauna and stuff. So the Snafu Le Tour with Saliva. Talk a little bit about
back when we did. Back before we did the first leg of this, somebody came to me and was like, somebody emailed was like, "Do you have an idea for the title for the tour?" And tragically, Saliva had just lost Wayne not too long before that, and of course, we all know the history of Drowning Pool, and so in my dark humor way, but also really looking at what the two bands have endured over the years. I was like, snafu, situation normal, all fucked up, and then to fancy it up a little bit, Le Tour. I live in England, so France is just a hop and skip away, and my wife's half French, so it just, to me, it was kind of like tongue in cheek, and I sent that in, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the tour was called Snafu Le Tour. I was like, really? that's all right. But we had a blast doing it last year. We spent 7 weeks together last year doing it, and just had a blast doing it. At that time, it was Saliva. It was Drowning Pool, Saliva, Any Given Sin, and Adelaide's Way. On this leg of it, it was so successful and so well received that we decided to do another leg of it. And so Adelaide's Way isn't with us this time. It's just us and Any Given Sin and Saliva, and then I think we do another leg here in a couple weeks after I finally get to go home for a few days and then come back over for another little run of dates. And it's Saliva, Drowning Pool, and Above Snakes. Yeah. Am I getting that right? I think they're with us. I'm pretty sure they're with us. I hope they're with us. But no, we're today's the first date. So if you're so inclined, definitely check out the Saliva and Drowning Pool and Any Given Sin websites and Facebook pages, and see if we'll be coming to a city near you, because we're definitely having fun doing it. I think it seems to be something that the crowd is feeding from, and we're feeding from them, and it was fun doing it last year, and I'm looking forward to this run of shows here.
Yeah, and you guys will also be, I think one of the closest bills that you're going to be on for me is going to be the Sonic Temple Festival.
Oh yeah.
So you guys got a couple of the Danny Wimmer festivals you're going to be playing on this year. What's your experience been with those?
Oh, it's always a blast. It's great to be invited back again, and that's kind of, like I said, like the excitement of this lineup getting back together again. We're doing 4 of the Danny Wimmer festivals this year. We're doing Sonic Temple. We're doing Welcome to Rockville down in Florida. Louder Than Life in Kentucky, and I always get the one in California wrong.
Is that Aftershock or something?
Aftershock, yes, yeah. Yes, thank you. And then doing that one. So yeah, it's been, and I don't know, numerous rallies and other festivals as well. Rock the Mountains. the excitement of this lineup getting back together, it's been cool because we've definitely been getting asked to do a lot of things that we haven't done in a while. So we're looking forward to doing these shows. And the coolest thing about that is not, yes, that it's big crowds and that's awesome, because anytime anybody gives you the time of day to do this, it's a gift. But also on a selfish point, those festivals are cool because there's so many bands that you're friends with and you've shared time with on the road, and you get to see a lot of friends and a lot of crew, not just bands, but also crew guys that you've been on the road with. So it's just a lot of hugs and handshakes and catching up and seeing how families are doing. And the backstage is kind of like a big family reunion at these festivals. So you look forward to it for that reason too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel the same way. I mean, I just from the media but Sonic Temple is one that I'm always usually at. The Incarceration now that Danny Wimber's a part of as well. I've made it to Louder Than Life last year for the first time, and that was like the Super Bowl, it felt like, of his festivals and stuff. So if the stars align properly, I'll be seeing you guys there again.
Well, if you see me, definitely grab a hold of me. Grab me by the shoulder.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
I usually walk around focused on something. So grab me and shake me a little bit.
Yeah. I was supposed to be at your guys' show with Soil and Union Underground at the Winchester, but I injured my back earlier that day, and it's just like, so I was bummed I missed it. But my photographer that hit that show, was just she enjoyed herself. She said it was good time. So I'll definitely try and catch you at Sonic Temple for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely good. Like I said, man, if you see me, grab me by the shoulder and shake me a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I'll say, hey, here we go, brownies or something. There
you go. Hell
yeah. And then I don't know if you were part of Drowning Pool during this time, but it's WrestleMania week, so I have to ask. Drowning Pool did some work on some old the albums for the WWE. Was that anything that you were involved with, or?
I came in slightly after that, but I ended up retracking because Drowning Pool did the theme song for SmackDown, which cannot remember the name of the song, but the theme for SmackDown for years and years was Drowning Pool. And so when I joined the band, they actually, Jim Johnson there with WWE Music, he actually wanted me to go in and I retracked the vocals for that song. So I was involved in the theme for SmackDown for several years, but really their connection with WWE happened just before I got together with them.
Okay.
But I did get to reap some of the benefits. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a big wrestling fan, so this is my Super Bowl this weekend. So
I got you. Yeah.
And then Cleveland's going to be having SummerSlam this year. So if you happen to be back in the States, cool, man, we'll be at the Brown Stadium for that.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I always like slipping that in when I get a chance. But I know you got stuff you got to get to, so. Before we get ready and wrap up, I want to just ask you a couple questions I normally ask guests that I have on. Let's see, what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school?
What? Well, I'm sorry?
What class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school?
Well, it's not a class, but I think the world could use a whole hell of a lot more common sense.
Yeah.
Or possibly a class that revolves around thinking for yourself and not believing every bullshit meme that you read that are usually produced by people trying to get you to think a certain way. Being smart enough to know that the media is a bunch of crap. There's a bunch of classes I think should exist that people should have to take. Regretfully, I'll stop here. I'm not getting on a pedestal, but we do live in a day and time when the being a reporter and being a member of the media was a respectable thing, and bringing the truth to people. And now it's just say whatever you're told to say and apologize for it. Say whatever you want to say today in great big bold letters on the front page, and then apologize and admit to it being bullshit on page 10 down the bottom corner in really tiny writing. That's the world we live in today. And regretfully, the powers have dumbed down society enough that people are very. There's a large percentage of people that are very quick to believe the bullcrap memes out there that are thrown in front of our faces for a reason. So I wish there was a class that taught the reality of the world that we live in. So yeah, that's my answer.
Dude, you're speaking my language. You definitely got to come back on another episode.
That's stuff I'm not allowed to talk about. We're not allowed, they don't want me to talk about the stuff that I'd like to talk about.
Yeah, I've had quite a few episodes taken down on YouTube because I'm the same way, dude. It's like, I served 20 years and
I appreciate that.
I would be, mobilized and in an environment, and then we'd get back in. We'd be sitting down to have lunch or whatever, and on the TV, CNN telling me that something just happened where I'm at, and I'm like, did you see that happen? I didn't see that happen, And it's but the plus about my time in the military and being all over the world is there was Browns backers clubs almost in every country I've been in. So,
dude, what you're saying right there, and your listeners need to understand, is that's not just you saying that. I've heard that story from so many current and veterans currently serving, as well as veterans that have served in active, over the years, the past couple of decades, that have experienced the exact same experience of being in a situation, getting back to the barracks, and all of a sudden seeing it on CNN, and it's completely bullcrap. And so your listeners, your viewers, it's not just you saying that. That is absolutely 100% the truth, man. That has been told to me by so many people have experienced the same thing.
Yeah, I could only share my truth, man. But like they say, you can only lead a horse to water. You can't get them to drink, man.
Regretfully, man. I'd love to hold their head under until they had no choice.
yeah, a little bit of waterboarding the truth into
them. Nice way of putting it. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I definitely do a lot of those episodes. I think if it's affected maybe how people can find me, on YouTube and stuff like that, unfortunately. But I'm gonna keep sharing my truth. That's all I can do, man. And I'll take the timeouts or whatever that they send me, But who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
My mom and my dad, and my grandma. I'm going with 4 people. It'd be my mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa. And in later years, here are my kids, because kids will definitely keep you on the right path.
Oh yeah, I can attest to that as well, man. It's like I got 2 daughters, and they're young women now, and they teach me how to be a better man every day, And and I was like during that last deployment, they were little kids, man, and it was just like it definitely gives you a whole new perspective on things. It's like some days I look at everything going on in the world, and I'm sure we're pretty much kindred spirits and what we're observing, and it's just like sometimes I'm just like, I had a good run, bring it, let's go. But then I remember I got kids that got to stick around in this. So,
Right. That's a scary feeling as a parent. And in my case, I'm also a grandpa now too. So it's a scary feeling when I look at, because I've lived in England for 6 years now, and it breaks my heart to see a lot of the stuff that I see and back home here. And it scares the shit out of me as a parent that my kids are growing up and with a lot of the things that are going on around.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was, it's scary worldwide in 2020 when we all had to, go through that whole thing. So,
yeah, it's nuts. That was one of the biggest things that was like, what the hell? Is when I came back here for the first time and here, I mean, States, when I came back to the States for the first time since all that, whatever you want to call it, happened. And I'm standing in the lobby, and they're talking about COVID this and COVID that and COVID this and COVID that. And I was like, they're all still feeding you this shit over here? I was just like, what the hell's going on? Because it's like the rest of the world already apologized for that a year ago. What's going what's going on? Again, I'm probably not. I may have just gotten this episode canceled for you. I apologize, but no,
it's all right, man. It's all right, because I feel the same way with you. I mean, I could go down and you know, I could go down like to certain like acts and things that were put in place during certain administrations that made it legal for propaganda to be put on the American people. Yep. And I could show these people the documents, and they're just like, "What are you talking about?" You know, I'm like, "These aren't news anchors anymore, man."
No, they're like, talking heads. Absolutely, man. They're like, "What are you talking about? There's a sale at Walmart."
Yeah, exactly.
That's all they care. That's what they have successfully created a society that doesn't give a shit other than making sure they have the newest car and the biggest screen TV, and that they are one foot up on top of the Joneses. They have successfully created the world that will listen and follow their lead. But anyway, dude, that we're getting off track here. I tell you what, man, I appreciate your time today, man. I apprate and I apologize for going left field there.
I got two more questions.
The biggest thing, real quick, if I can, at the end of the day, there is one thing that I do believe, and that is to each their own. So what I'm saying means for everybody, and I get that, and I don't expect it to be. So to each their own, man. We all live in harmony. I don't need to cancel you. You don't need to cancel me. That's not the way the world's supposed to be. So we all can disagree to agree to disagree, if so be it. So yeah. So what's your next question, bub?
Exactly. So favorite toy as a child? Take us back to a happier time.
I don't know about my favorite toy, but I do. One of my memories is I had a AJ Foyt action figure. If you don't know who AJ Foyt was a IndyCar racer. He was the first IndyCar racer to win the Indy 500 4 times. So I had a little AJ Foyt. I had the race car, but I also had the action figure. And that action figure was my favorite little action figure, like the little G.I. Joe size, not the big 12-inch. So I'm talking about a little G.I. Joe action figure, about that size. And I lost it. And it bummed me out so bad I lost that thing. I looked for it for literally years. And then once I grew up and had no use for it anymore, my mom cut down the asparagus plant in the backyard, and there AJ Foyt was at the bottom. He was laying on the ground in the asparagus plant. So I found him like years later. But yeah, that's the toy that I remember the most as a child.
Nice, that's a first.
I remember because of the tragedy. It was me losing AJ Foyt.
And then we briefly talked about them a little bit, but any message you have for our military members that are currently serving overseas?
We just had the privilege to we left this past winter. We left on December 23rd, and we didn't get home until January 3rd, and we went over to Poland. So there's a bunch of our U.S. troops that have been deployed to Poland and different areas in Europe with everything that's going on in Ukraine. And I don't know. That's talked about a lot of just how much of our military has been deployed to these areas. So we went and for Christmas, and from December 23rd to January 3rd, we went and we played at a bunch of the military bases in Poland, troops that couldn't go home for the holidays. And we since going over and playing in Iraq and Kuwait in 2005 and 2006, drowning pool. We did stuff over the years with the MWR, the Wounded Warriors Project, the USO, the Armed Forces Entertainment, raising money. We love them. We've done that over the years, not because we do what we do. We're allowed to do what we do. You and I are allowed to be here. right now on this podcast, when we're done with this, I'm going to go up stage tonight and I'm going to yell, and it allows me to keep my lights on at home, and it allows me to provide food for my family, and all of and whatever you're doing in your life, we're all allowed to do that because men and women throughout history have given everything, have been willing to give everything to provide us those freedoms. And so when we've been asked to do things like the holiday shows, and it's always been all the stuff that we've done, it's always been a no-brainer to us because of the respect that we have for those men and women that served and still currently serve. And you know, I can't say enough. I just, you know, that's why when you said it earlier, that's why first thing out of my mouth was, you know, bless, man. Appreciate it, because that's whenever I meet anyone serving or a veteran or something, that's, I don't think people just understand that it isn't just a matter of taking a moment and having respect for the people that served and gave it all. But it's also the people that are still here that were willing to give it all and are willing to give it all. That just everybody, there was a great moment in American recent history when 9/11 happened and everything was going on, and a serving military person would walk through the airport and people would applaud them. Those days should have never have been odd, because it's the way it always should have been, and it shouldn't have been a thing of the past, because it should still be happening today. The men and women deserve everybody's fucking respect and deserve everybody's admiration and appreciation. So I'm sorry, I get off on a tangent again, man.
It's all right, Ryan. I got you, man. I appreciate your time. I know you got stuff you got to get to.
Yeah, they're going to be yelling at me.
Yeah, I definitely want to get you back on sometime. But
anytime. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, before I let you go, you know, if there's people that want to follow what Drowning Pool's up to or what you're up to, you know, where would you send them?
The official Drowning Pool page on Facebook. We do have drowningpool.com as well. That definitely check that out, because it's got a lot of stuff that you aren't able to find on the Facebook page because of Facebook's rules and regulations. So I myself pretty much concentrate on my own official Facebook page, because I try to keep everybody informed of all the soil and all the drowning pool and soil stuff that I'm involved in, as well as the other things that I do in England, where I've called home the last 6 years. So yeah, but all things Drowning Pool is drowningpool.com, the Drowning Pool official Facebook page, the Instagram page, of course, all that social media bull crap.
Nice. And then one last favor, man, and then I'll let you loose. Do you mind cutting a promo ID for the show? Just introduce yourself, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Let me, because I got a short, fat tongue. Boondoggle. Yeah.
I just want
to make sure I can get it out of my mouth correctly. Boondoggle. Because I've been cursed with this short, fat tongue. I usually ends up sounding like mush mouth from the Bill Cosby cartoons. Boondoggle. All right. Anytime?
Yeah, anytime.
Hey, I'm Ryan McCombs from the bands Drowning Pool and Soil and You. Is it that you're listening today to today's Boondoggle podcast?
Yeah, today's Boondoggle podcast. Yeah.
All right. This is Ryan McCombs from the bands Soil and Drowning Pool, or Drowning Pool and Soil. It doesn't matter. You can go either way on that. And you are listening to today's Boondoggle podcast. Come on.
Awesome, man. Ryan, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it, man.
Even threw in a little dime bag there at the end. I didn't even mean to do that. But you got a little dime bag level on that one.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah, thank you for your time, man. I gotta get to work, brother. But thank you so much for your time.
All right. Take care, man.
Will do. You too. Bye-bye.
Sound the alarm. Incarceration Music and Tattoo Festival is back with Shinedown, Godsmack, Breaking Benjamin, Hailstorm, The Offspring, Chevelle, Bad Omens, Chimera, and so many more. Report to historic Ohio State Reformatory this July 19th through 21st. 3 days of non-stop rock, tattoos, Blood Prison, Haunted House, and more. Passes on sale now at incarceration.com.